Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Well, it looks like we have come to the end, finally, of the UAP Disclosure Act. Although there are some people still insisting online that there's still a chance for it. Well, let me tell you, folks, it does not look that way at all from where I'm standing. The UAP Disclosure Act is dead. It's as dead as Marley's ghost. Jacob Marley, remember 7 long years? He was dead in A Christmas Carol. Talking about Jacob Marley early in the book, and then later on he comes back as a ghost. That's basically what happened. That UAP Disclosure Act is dying right before Christmas. That's really pretty much what's happening here. And actually, for some people, it's actually a good thing, particularly the debunkers of the world. They're very happy about this because they feel like this is some sort of a victory for them, because I mean, to them, victory requires something like this. I mean, if you have some sort of legislation, some sort of a law that's going to get passed, that's going to force these entities, the secret control group in the Pentagon and these defense contractors to finally show us what they have recovered, what they've been working on, to basically reveal the extraterrestrial reality. The fact that bill's not passed, this is a joyous day. If you're a debunker, this is joyous. You could take a deep breath. I mean, your career is going to continue for a little bit longer here. Mick West, for instance, he was talking on Twitter today, you could tell he's jubilant in his tweet, and we will get into that in a second. But as we all know, as I've been talking about this past week, there were 5 politicians, all Republicans, 3 in the House and 2 in the Senate, that basically moved to crush this bill because they were told to do so by elements within the military-industrial complex. That's who these people receive a lot of campaign funding from. So they because they're puppets, I mean, they did what they were told, and now legislation is going to pass. The National Defense Authorization Act is moving forward, and it's completely gutted. The UAP Disclosure Act is gutted. There's not going to be any sort of eminent domain clauses, which would make any sort of recovered craft the property of the United States. That's gone. The 9-member panel that was going to look at some of the information regarding recovered extraterrestrial craft, that's gone. It's just gutted. It's over. It's done. But like these 5 powerful members of Congress, they were basically approached by the elements within the military-industrial complex and told to shut this thing down. And even though it was a bipartisan effort across the Senate and the House, members of both institutions were prepared to include this in the NDAA. Probably one of the only things that could happen now is President Biden could veto the NDAA and send it back and say, I'm not going to vote for this because it doesn't include this UAP language. But see, the problem is that he probably won't do anything because the mainstream news really doesn't focus too much on this. They don't really care. This is mostly being a battle that's being waged on places like Twitter and Reddit, and on YouTube and in podcasts. I mean, it's not really being discussed by the mainstream news, even though it is the biggest story of all time. The fact that there's an extraterrestrial presence here, and the fact that there was a push to keep this legislation from passing. There was a push. Why would there be a push? If there's nothing to hide, then you should just let it pass. Why did you not want it to pass? Because there is something to hide, like we've been talking about. But anyway, Mick West, the biggest debunker of our age, wrote on Twitter today, maybe, quote, powerful members of Congress, end quote, just thought the proposed legislation was silly and overreaching, with overly vague eminent domain clauses and requiring spending based on specious evidence pushed by supernatural adjacent proponents. So basically, what he's doing there, he's ridiculing the UFO community and anybody in Congress that thought that this was worthwhile legislation. He's basically saying supernatural adjacent proponents. There's nothing supernatural about the extraterrestrial reality. There's nothing supernatural about it. It's real. It's not supernatural. There's some beings here from other places. I know because I saw one. Mick West is totally wrong on this, as is every other stupid debunker out there, right? And any of his acolytes that follow him, right? They're all stupid and idiotic and dumb. They don't know. I do know for a fact. Again, I've said this before. I'm holding in my hand a royal flush. If this was a game of poker, I'm going to win because I have a royal flush, and these debunkers, they're holding a 7 or 8 high at best. They're going to lose. They already lost. I saw one of these creatures with my own eyes. I saw one of the craft with my own eyes. I've done enough research to understand that there is a cover-up, that there is an extraterrestrial reality, that millions of people are affected by these beings. Tens of thousands of people have been abducted by them. The extraterrestrials are responsible for some cattle mutilations. It's real. There's physical trace evidence. There's objects that have been removed from people that have been abducted, alien implants that they're unearthly. And so these people are total idiots for trying to block reality. They don't want to see reality. They don't want people to know what the reality is. And even themselves, I think even themselves, they don't even want themselves to know what the reality is. Anyway, case in point here, there was one of Mick West's acolytes, somebody called Rocco Midgick on Twitter, wrote his hot take responding to this. This guy's a big time Mick West fanatic. I mean, a complete, absolute cult fanatic. Incredible. But anyway, he writes, hot take. The so-called UFO sightings are part of the civilizational competence crisis we are undergoing. There are no UFOs. There are just confused sailors who don't know how their own instruments work, taking photos of stars, weather balloons, and engine glare. Then being signal boosted by clickbaity media. See, this guy's living in a stupid, dumb, unrealistic world. I mean, because he's an acolyte of Mick West. He's a wide-eyed cultist of Mick West. That's who this guy is. He's a dope. But anyway, I responded to this idiot. I said, hot take, you're drunk on Mick West's bathwater. This can lead to permanent stupidity. Please contact the closest cult deprogramming specialist as soon as possible. I pray it's not too late. Yeah, see, that's how I feel about these people. I don't like them. I don't like them. I don't like people that are trying to prevent the world from knowing the truth of the matter. And the truth of the matter is that there's an extraterrestrial presence here. I know this. There's a lot of people who know this, and we want to know more. We want to know what the government knows. We're not going to get that, not through this legislation anyhow. So now you hear some people talking about catastrophic disclosure, where the aliens will let us know, perhaps if we have another Phoenix Lights incident, for instance, or another country will do it. I don't think you're going to see it from Russia or China. Those people, you have to understand, those people in charge there, they're dictators. Dictators want people to think about them and them only. They don't want people to start looking at themselves as earthlings, right? It's not going to be about that. Nationalism is the only game in town here, right? So you're not going to see it coming from there. So I don't believe that one bit. But one way of catastrophic disclosure, if is somehow whistleblowers are able to finally come through, not only with what they know, right? Not only with words and what we want to see, documents. We want to see something physical, like absolute end-all evidence that shows that there is a cover-up and that there is an extraterrestrial reality, and then we could take it from there. And there are efforts in that arena going on right now. John Greenwald of the Black Vault, who's, I've criticized recently. Over the past year, I'd say, maybe here and there. I've always stuck. I used to stick up for him all the time, but then he kept on aligning himself with creeps like Stephen Greenstreet, the debunker who writes for that rag of a piece of junk tabloid newspaper, the New York Post. Yeah. Like he was aligning himself with creeps like that, as well as dumbbells like Mick West. So I had issues with him. But he did have a comment here today on Twitter that I want to read. He says, my comments these past couple months about the UAP Disclosure Act not passing in its original state was not because I didn't want it to. It's because it didn't have a chance. The secrecy layer over UAP information has strengthened and thickened since 2017, and I've spoken about that for years now. That bill, as originally written, would not have trumped that secrecy layer. It's clearly not popular to say, but as evidenced with the filing of the NDAA last night and the gutting of the UAP Disclosure Act, it's even more obvious The United States government is playing a game, and they simply don't want you to know what's going on. See, now I like that comment, I really do. But see, Greenwald, for the most part, really doesn't admit to the extraterrestrial reality. Doesn't really believe in it. I don't understand how somebody in his position, somebody who has studied this since the 1990s, well over 20 years now, right? And he's been running that black vault for, I don't know, about the same amount of time. I mean, you would think that he would have understood at this point. He would have realized and come to the conclusion that there is an extraterrestrial presence here. There's just too many witnesses out there. I mean, I know he's someone who he relies on Freedom of Information Act requests, documents from the government, trying to pry documents away from the government. He does a great job on that, right? He really does. He's the best. I mean, there's no question about it. I try to get these documents, but the problem is he's never gotten anything over all this time. He's never received any document that showed us really anything about UFOs, about the reality of the situation. Yeah, there's some reports and UFO reports that he received, but there was really nothing in there that shows that there's an extraterrestrial presence. They're not going to give him that information. The disclosure's not going to go through, get to us through the black vault. That's not going to happen that way. And the other thing is I don't understand it. He's actually saying here in this comment, they simply don't want you to know what's going on, that they're playing a game. Okay, then you should just finally admit to yourself that, hey, there's an extraterrestrial presence here, and they're covering it up. That's what's happening. Again, see, I maybe I'm wrong for the way I talk sometimes. I know some people tell me that in some of the comments I receive, because... But I'm not. I mean, I know it's like I have the benefit of having seen one of these creatures, and then in a different incident, seeing a craft with somebody else, with a witness. So I know, right? And they don't have that benefit, and I have that benefit. And so, is it wrong of me to call these people dumbbells? I don't think it is. Because I know that they are, for not admitting to this reality, for not pushing harder. I mean, and these people who are trying to debunk it all the time, what's their problem? What's their problem? None of it makes any sense to me. But it looks like it's done. Here's from Dean Johnson. He's a presence on UFO Twitter. He wrote today, the U.S. Senate today voted 82-15 to take up the final fiscal year 2024 National Defense Authorization Act. It has several UAP-related provisions. The Senate will approve the bill next week. It is no longer open to amendment, and send it to the House of Representatives for a final vote. So there it is, folks. It looks like this is all washed up and finished and completed. Like I said, outside of perhaps a veto from the president, it's done. But at the same time, I think that the focus really should be on these whistleblowers. These whistleblowers really should step up to the plate. I don't care if they're worried about non-disclosure agreements or whatever they have, whatever they're worried about. They just flush them. Take those any non-disclosure agreement and tell the secret control group to shove it up their you-know-whats. That's what I say. Don't worry about it. Just come out and tell us whatever you got. Because you know what? Nobody's going to blame you. And there will be such an outcry. There will be protests in the street if any of these whistleblowers were to get arrested all of a sudden for telling us the truth about the extraterrestrial reality. I don't think they should be worried about that. They should just come right out. Whatever they have, let us have it. And if there's any way that any of these whistleblowers could come up with some end-all evidence or documentation or pictures or whatever, anything you have, just bring it up and let's do it that way. Forget about the secret control group and whatever. I mean, hey, according to them, there's nothing to this, right? There's no reason for this legislation because there's nothing. We don't have anything. Okay, if you don't have anything, and if a whistleblower presents some information that shows that you do have something, actually it should be the secret, the people who've been holding on to the secret that should be in trouble. They're the criminals. They're the ones who are guilty of crimes against humanity by keeping this a secret for as long as they have. They had an opportunity here. They actually still do, as far as I'm concerned. They have an opportunity to just come clean on their own without any of this nonsense, without any arrow, without any UAP Disclosure Act, without Congress having to do anything. They just need to come forward and tell the people the truth already. They could do it under their own steam. That would be better, wouldn't it? That would be better if they did it themselves rather than having to force it out of them in ways like this, or moving forward with catastrophic disclosure and having whistleblowers just present the information, just keep dumping it out onto the public until everyone finally realizes. We just come clean already. I mean, these people who are covering this up. Now, obviously, this was started by people who are dead, right? As we've talked about before on here, the people who have originally who started this cover up. It started in 1947. It started with the Truman administration, and probably Eisenhower was involved too. I mean, later on. I mean, who knows what sort of executive orders secret executive orders were signed to keep this covered up in the past, and that that cover-up is still being maintained to this point in time. But it was started by people who are gone. The people who are in control now, they inherited this. So in a way, they're not as guilty as the people who would actually initialize this. So it's time for this control group just to end this deceit and just come forward and tell everybody the truth. Tell us what you have. Come up with. I'm sure you have some great reasons as to why you kept it covered up for as long as you have, and then we could all move forward. But it doesn't seem like they want to do that, or they wouldn't have stopped this legislation. This was a chance for them to get out of this scot-free, but they don't care. They don't want to do that. They feel like they're holding the strings. They're holding all these people in Congress. Obviously, they're all puppets. If it wasn't those 5 Republicans, it could have been 5 Democrats. Who knows who it would have got to anybody? They would have threatened them. They could have said stuff. Hey, we're not going to give you any more campaign contributions. I mean, whoever was the chair of the House, whoever was the House Intelligence Committee, whoever the Speaker of the House, they went after those people. Those are the people blocking this. The minority leader in the Senate, Mitch McConnell. They went for the big dog. Who were some of them were holding court over specific committees and said, hey, this is what you're going to do, and we don't care what you think. And they were like, okay, yes, sir. No problem, sir. Yes, sir. Whatever you say, sir. Just make sure you give me my campaign contribution when the time comes. That's what it is. It's all crookedness and skunkiness and stinkiness and stupidity and idiocy and greediness and it's all of it woven into one. That's why this secret is still being maintained. Anyhow, there was an article here about Daniel Sheehan, the attorney who's representing. He used to represent Lou Elizondo, and now he's representing some whistleblowers. And there was an article here from Hows and Wise, written by Vicky Verma. The headline reads, Lou Elizondo's attorney claims Vatican knows aliens are here and they come from different star systems. Now I'm not going to get into that right away, but I want to read what some of these other statements that Sheehan has been making recently. Now he's been talking about. It seems like he's ready to start throwing everything at the wall here, throwing everything possible to see what sticks from whistleblowers that he's representing. I mean, he seems ready to just start pushing that information out to us. Anyway, here's from the article here. It says, Sheehan is actively giving interviews where he reveals some of the UFO information that would come as shocking to the people who are not aware of what is happening with the UFO subject. In the recent episode of the UFO podcast, Sheehan said 40 witnesses have come forward with compelling evidence supporting the existence of UFO crafts. These witnesses, he claims, are aware not only of the existence of such crafts, but also of the aerospace industry's involvement in reverse engineering them for weapon development purposes. Sheehan stressed the gravity of the situation, labeling it as an extraordinarily serious problem. The proposed bill, as described by Sheehan, seeks to establish an international treaty that prohibits any country from using UFO technology to gain a military advantage. The overarching goal is to prevent the development of weapon systems based on UFO technology. Despite widespread bipartisan support, Sheehan revealed obstacles encountered during the legislative process. And he's talked. Of course, the obstacles was like the Republican head of the Republican who's the chair of the House Intelligence Committee, Mike Turner. Sheehan says the individual head of the Intelligence Committee on the House side. He comes from the 2nd Congressional District in Ohio, where the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is located. Sheehan explained. He noted that Turner's ties to the area, home to the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, may have influenced his stance on UFO disclosure. I think it was probably the campaign bucks. That's my opinion. Sheehan next pointed to Michael Rogers from the 2nd Congressional District in Alabama, a head of the Armed Services Committee, linking his involvement to the Redstone missile base. Allegedly, this base is a key location where efforts are underway to utilize UFO technology for the development of more effective missiles, including nuclear missiles. So basically what he's saying here is that the reason these guys are keeping it secret is because some of the groups that are giving them campaign money and are operating in the districts and from where they come are actually trying to use this to create even more deadly nuclear bombs, basically. Nuclear missiles. That's basically what they're so that's one of the reasons about. See, they don't care. None of these people, right, in Congress. I tell you right now, like these creeps here, we're talking about Turner and Rogers, right? They don't care about human beings. They just care about their own greed. I mean, look at Mike Rogers. What a clown. It looks like he's wearing a dead cat on his head. Anyway, according to Sheehan, the term catastrophic disclosure varies in definition among different individuals. Some interpret it as the revelation of criminal acts committed against those attempting to disclose information, resulting in potential criminal liability for various people. Drawing parallels to historical cases, Sheehan points to the Pentagon Papers incident during the Nixon administration. In the Pentagon Papers case, the government argued that disclosing information from the classified documents would irreparably damage national security. Sheehan underscores the importance of distinguishing between genuine concerns for national security and potential abuses of power. He recalls a similar refusal by officials to divulge specific details in court during the Pentagon Papers case, emphasizing the abuse of discretionary power within intelligence agencies. One of Sheehan's major concerns is the secrecy surrounding information related to UFOs and the potential existence of an extraterrestrial civilization. He criticizes the idea that a select few have the right to withhold such information from the public, labeling it as preposterous, fundamentally unconstitutional, anti-democratic, and, in his professional opinion, criminal. Let me just stop there for a second. I totally agree with everything that he believes in there right there, because that's exactly what it is. Preposterous, criminal, anti-democratic, and fundamentally unconstitutional. That somehow this is being allowed. Unelected officials are somehow controlling the people we elect to make them not show us what they've recovered that has crashed on our land, on taxpayer property. They're covering this stuff up. And just so they could make more weapons that are deadlier. That's basically what it's all about, it seems. It says here, during the discussion on the existence of extraterrestrial civilizations, Sheehan was asked by the show host, Andy, "You've used extraterrestrial civilization a few times, and you're a careful lawyer. Why do you say civilization and not civilizations? Do you think there's only one, or are you saying there might not be more than one interacting with us?" Sheehan confidently replied, "Oh yeah, there are definitely different species here. About half a dozen have been identified, and they probably come from different star systems. We don't know if they have some kind of coalition or federation or how they cooperate among themselves. We just don't have the answers." Well, let me just stop there for a second. Now, that's very interesting. Of course, as we all know, David Grush, the whistleblower, was actually talking recently on Joe Rogan, talking about the different, that there are several different kinds of extraterrestrials that the government knows about. And there's probably a lot more that they don't know about as well. But it's interesting that he's talking about that, because obviously this is stuff that Sheehan, as an attorney representing whistleblowers, he's learning this from these people. Sheehan expressed concern about possible communication between government individuals and these beings, with important information being kept secret. He stated, "There's evidence that there's been communication with these extraterrestrial beings, and we're being kept in the dark. That goes against our Constitution." Now, let me just stop there. There have been many, many different kinds of stories throughout the years that we have been in contact with extraterrestrials, that the United States government has secretly had meetings with extraterrestrial beings. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but a lot of people like Sheehan are saying that it seems that that's what's been happening. And if that is the case, and they are keeping this from the world, that is unbelievably criminal. I can't even begin to describe how bad that would be, that we have actually had contact with extraterrestrial species and we weren't told about it. The taxpayers were not told about it. That is unbelievably criminal. I can't even begin it's so disturbing to me, the fact, if that is real, if that really happened. I don't know if it did or not. There's different kinds of reports out there, several of them, right, that I've read about before. I'm not sure if I'm there with that yet, but if that has happened and we have been in contact with them, and we're making deals behind the scenes, and the people don't know about these deals whatsoever for decades for decades upon decades, right? Then that's criminal activity, and these people should be prosecuted and thrown in the darkest, dankest prison we could find. Then he gets in here to the Vatican's involvement in UAP and alien life. In his other interview with James Landoli on engaging the phenomenon, Sheehan, who was a former chief counsel for the United States Jesuit Order, revealed intriguing details about his conversations with the head of the Vatican archives regarding the Vatican's knowledge of extraterrestrial life. Sheehan shed light on his involvement in groundbreaking initiative to address the theological and philosophical implications of the discovery of extraterrestrial intelligence. During the interview, James raised the topic of David Grush's claim that the Vatican possessed knowledge of extraterrestrial phenomena. Sheehan discussed his access to the classified files of the Project Blue Book, where he encountered photos of UFO crash retrievals and concrete evidence of non-human piloted vehicles. He proposed the formation of a task force involving all 54 major religious denominations to address the issue from a theological perspective. However, at that time, there was insufficient consensus, and the proposal was declined. Sheehan is currently working through his New Paradigm Institute to organize a global summit conference involving world religious leaders to discuss the recent recovery of an extraterrestrial spacecraft. And here's a direct quote from Sheehan. The United States government is in possession of biological evidence and has actually taken into custody alive an extraterrestrial person. They're keeping this secret, interrogating the being, and distorting the information to justify massive expenditures on weapon development under the guise of a perceived threat. See, that's what's going on. That's why I'm going to stop there for a second. It's so ugly, isn't it? I mean, the human race, the way we are. I mean, I don't know. Do we blame? It's hard to really blame it on just a few individuals. It's just us in totality. This is what we do, right? This is the kind of junky stuff we do. I mean, basically, that's why they're keeping it secret, right? The reverse engineering aspects. They're trying to reverse engineer this stuff, trying to, get ideas from it, right? From all this recovered craft, and then use it as some sort of a weapon to attack other countries, to attack our enemies, right? That's all fine and dandy, reverse engineering it, but you cannot keep secret the reality that there's an extraterrestrial presence here. It's too big of a story. Sheehan highlighted the Vatican's acknowledgement of the possibility of extraterrestrial life. He referenced a formal statement issued by the Catholic Church on November 10th, 2009, authorized by Pope Benedict. The statement, issued by Father Jose Gabriel Alfuz, a director of the Pontifical Observatory in Rome, recognizing the increasing discovery of exoplanets, and called for a global discussion on the philosophical and theological implications of the imminent discovery of extraterrestrial life. Okay, to see, there's a lot of talk here about what the churches are going to do, what religious people are going to do about this. I don't even care. I just don't care. I mean, that should have nothing to do with this, actually. I mean, that's just where I'm at with it. I mean, so what? I mean, if you believe in God and you find out that there are extraterrestrials coming here, okay, God created them too. You just move on. It should be that simple. Sheehan disclosed that the government was telepathically interrogating the extraterrestrial biological entity, or EBE, in custody. Despite acknowledging the bizarre nature of the revelation, Sheehan stood by the credibility of the information, having interviewed individuals directly involved in the process. The extraterrestrial allegedly conveyed that a coalition of star systems in our galaxy monitors the evolution of life on different planets, including Earth. And here's a direct quote from Sheehan. Pope Benedict had a formal statement issued by the Catholic Church saying that with the discovery of more exoplanets, it has become clear that we will be discovering life elsewhere in the universe. This prompted the need for a global discussion on the philosophical and theological questions posed by the discovery of extraterrestrial life. Okay, I'm not. That's pretty much it for that article. But I just want to say I don't know what the big deal is. I mean, you would have to believe that religious organizations are already should have been prepared a long time ago for this potentiality. That okay, this is what we're going to tell our congregants when the truth is finally told by the governments of the world. We're going to tell them this, this, and that. Right? I mean, I don't see why this is such a big deal. Right? I mean, how religions are going to react? Oh my God! Let's all jump out our windows here. That's how to make it seem, don't it? Like there's going to be mass panic, worldwide panic. People are going to be jumping out of the skyscrapers because they're not going to be able to deal with this new reality. It's scary. It's going to crush people's religious beliefs. Okay, you know what? So what? In a way, I say, well, so what? I mean, for centuries, right, since the dawn of time, religions, for the most part, have been destructive. I mean, just look what's going on right now in some of these Middle Eastern countries. The way they enforce their old religious beliefs on people there, and you have people right here in this country trying to do it right now in the United States. I don't care. I just don't care. I don't care. I don't think that should even be part of the conversation here. I don't even care what any of these religions think. I just don't care. That should have nothing to do with this. They just modify your books, right? Modify your books that were written by people centuries ago. Modify them. Just change a couple of words in them. Do what you gotta do and then just move on. Move on with your scheme or your scam or your whatever you do to get the money out of the people that show up in your church's pockets into your pocket. Do whatever you have to do, but who cares? I don't care about these religions. I just don't. When it comes to this subject. Anyway. Moving on. I'm going to talk about the most recent, some of the recent Spotify polls that I have run. And we're going to start with, for the episode, Coltart says UAP Disclosure Act has been gutted by Pentagon puppets. I asked this question: why are the 5 politicians mentioned in this podcast blocking the UAP Disclosure Act? There have been 65 votes up to this point with 25 days left. 2 people, or 3.1%, say they're dumb. Now I did go over this one a couple days ago, but there's been more votes. So 2 people, or 3.1%, say they're dumb. Yes, they are dumb. I agree with that one. 9 people, or 13.8%, say they were threatened by members of the CIA. I don't know if I believe that at all. 23 people, or 35.4%, say they were following donor orders. And then finally, 31 people, or 47.7%, say all of the above. Yeah, I'm going to go with, I think they were following donor orders. I think that's what it was. I think I said that last time too. But the majority saying all of the above, and that could very well be the case. Okay, for the episode called The Truth of the Matter, I asked this question: will the world become a better or worse place if we had sudden UFO disclosure? 11 people, or 13.1%, say worse. 27 people, or 32.1%, say nothing would change. And 46 people, or 54.8%, say it would become better. And that's what I agree with the majority on this one for sure. It will become a better place because it would give people pause. They would stop and think about their place in the universe, and maybe we'll all start getting along better and working together, knowing that there's an intelligence that is technologically superior to us, observing everything we do. And then finally, for the episode Alien Encounter Reports Exploded in 1954, I asked this question: if you encountered a landed flying saucer surrounded by short alien beings in a lonely field, what would you do? 4 people, or 9.3%, say they would attack them. Well, that's one thing I would definitely not do. There would be no violence on my part, unless I was being attacked first. But no, I would say no, that's not what I would do. 6 people, or 14%, say run away. That might be what a lot of people, even though it wasn't that many people that say that, right? But if you were really in that situation, you might run away, even though you might say right now that you wouldn't. But if you were in that situation, you might just run away. 16 people, or 37.2%, say they would approach them. Now, I don't know about that one. I don't know. You have to be pretty damn brave, approaching them and you're asking for trouble there, you could find yourself into a walk yourself right into some sort of a jackpot that you never saw coming. And then finally, 17 people, or 39.5%, say hide and observe. I think that's what I would do. Hide and observe. I think I would, if possible, if feasible, I would try to see if there's any place I could hide and observe them, and maybe, if possible, pull out my cell phone. But see, try to film them. But the problem is, I think that they would know you were there. I think that they have technology so advanced that, you hear stories where people say they initially see a UFO pretty far away, then it comes suddenly up to them, like while they're driving in a car or something, and it's right there in front of them, and then it drags them off the highway, and then they get abducted. There's been a lot of cases like that where people are driving in cars. I think they could see pretty far away. They know what's going on. I think they have a good idea when they're in a certain vicinity. They know what's all around them, I think. So you'd have to be pretty lucky not to be spotted, but I would give it a try. I would try to hide and observe. I would try to, if there was a bush there, hide behind that bush, pull out that cell phone, start filming it. That would be great, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be great? As you're doing it, thinking to yourself, oh my God, wait till I show everybody back home this. Oh my God. Imagine how exciting that would be. If they don't see you. But the reason I asked that question, because there were a lot of cases that I was talking about in that podcast where, I don't know, countless. I mean, there were quite a few cases where people actually, this was back in the year 1954, where a lot of people, mostly in France, were actually coming upon landed craft with alien beings walking around it. And sometimes some of these people ended up getting paralyzed temporarily. And it was a bunch of amazing stories, but yeah, I don't know. I think I would definitely try to hide and observe for sure. But you know what? It's easy to sit here and say it now while I'm, in the comfort of my own home and relaxed, and there's nothing going on, and I'm, you never know. You might just run when presented with it. You might run away in total, absolute terror. You just don't know. Anyway, I just want to thank everyone for joining me. Until next time.